Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, Designs by Dana. I'm Dana and I'm also a close to my heart maker, and today I'm going to be working on day 2 of the Christie's Beautiful Life scrapbook sketches for March. And this is the sketch I'm working with, and it is designed by Nicole Santos. Hold that up just a little bit closer for you to see. This is a really fun sketch. I like how she's added the color to it because it gave me a lot of inspiration for what I wanted to do. So when I saw this particular sketch, I knew exactly what I wanted to do with it. So I'm going to go ahead and pull in my picture for this one and show you what I'm going to do. I'm only going to use one picture so you can see right off the bat. I'm going to change it up just a little bit with one picture instead of two. And this is quite a fun, crazy picture of my daughter a few years back. And she was going to a concert by 21 Pilots. Don't know if anybody's familiar with them, but at the time they were not as popular as they are now. She's very good at finding bands when they first come out and going to see them at smaller venues. And so this particular concert, she went, and they used to wear skeleton costumes when they would come out on stage, and sometimes they still do. And so she did makeup with several other different fans and would stay after the shows and get autographs and things like that. So this was a cool concert for her. And I thought with the color in the sketch that I'm going to pull in would look really cool with the black and white of the photo. So let me get this out of the way, and I'm just going to pull my papers in, and we're going to jump in and get right started. We'll be right back.
Okay, I've got my Versamat in, and I'm going to bring in all of my pre-cut papers. I'm using a white cardstock base, and you could see I'm using the UV cardstock papers. These were a close to my heart special quite some time ago, but I have several left over in my stash. And this is what first came to my mind when I saw the sketch, and I thought that they would work perfect. So I've cut them in various sizes, and I'm going to dry fit everything out here. And you'll notice everything is mismatched in sizes, which I think adds a lot of character to this layout. It makes it a little special, keeps it less uniform and boring. And I think my photo just really pops against all of this color. And then I decided that I think I wanted to add a little bit more black. So I'm bringing in my black shimmer trim, and I'm going to add that to some of these pieces here. And I'm going to put it kind of a 1/4 inch up from the bottom. So I'm going to play around with that a little bit. And I thought I would put that on before I glue the pieces down and probably be a little bit easier. So I'm putting that on, and these UV pieces of cardstock kind of want to slide around on me, so I do have to fuss around with that a little bit. In the end, I'm not going to make you watch me do all of these pieces, and what I finally ended up doing is using my Post-it tape and taping them to my Versamat, and it made it much easier. And you'll also notice in the end that I turned some of them to where the strip is across the top of the paper and the bottom, and it's just kind of random throughout all of these strips. So I'm going to do one more here on camera, and I'll do the rest off camera. So you can see I'm kind of debating on how I want to lay those out. And then I'll get this one done and get everything else done and glued down off camera for you. I got everything glued down, and now I'm ready to embellish. I brought in one of my older thin cuts from my stash, and this is actually one of the very first thin cuts I think that Close to My Heart came out with. And these stars here they're very delicate. You'll notice that I've thickened them up by cutting multiples of each one, and I think I've glued together at least 5 layers each. So I did a lot of cutting on these, and I glued them together so that I could have not only some thickness and dimension, but it was easier to do it this way than to try to pop them up with foam tape, because you can see how thin they are. So I'm using my Barely Art liquid glue that I purchased off of Amazon, and I did that as opposed to using the Close to My Heart Tombow glue, which is also wonderful. But this glue has such a awesome precision tip on it that I really like for some of these finer detailed items. So I'm going to pop up all of these stars, and I've also incorporated some of my acrylic black stars as well. And you notice that one of them popped right out of my tweezers there, so I'm going to steal from another area and look for the missing one here in a little bit. But the tweezers work great for this type of item and gluing them down. And one thing I did notice, because I'm using the UV cardstock, it's a little slick, so I had to hold each of the stars down just a little bit longer than I normally would to get that glue just to dry a little bit more onto that slick UV cardstock. Normally I wouldn't have to hold those down quite as long, and also because especially the ones that overlap with the photo and they're not laying down on such an even surface, they needed to have that extra time to grip into the paper and stick on. And I also wanted to point out, you notice that I got all of my shimmer trim put down, and I really kind of mixed that up, and I like how that turned out. So everything is 1/4 inch from the edge of the paper, but some of them are at the bottom side of the paper, some of them are at the top, and then on the right side I did the same thing, but didn't use necessarily the same papers and mixed it up a little bit. So I really like how that turned out also. So I'm just going to finish up putting these stars on and all of the embellishing here. And one thing I didn't do is add a title to my layout because I wasn't sure if I wanted to do a title or add journaling, but I'll figure that out later. And then I found that missing star that I flipped out of my tweezers a little bit ago, and I put that on. So that wraps up the layout.
Okay, now that the layout is complete, let's take one final look. I'm going to bring the sketch back in so we can do a little compare. You can see that I kept pretty true to the sketch. The main difference is that I used one photo instead of two. I haven't put a title on my layout yet, and I'm not sure that I'm going to, but I may add some either handwritten journaling or some strip journaling down here at the bottom. I just haven't decided about that yet. But I'll pull this up just a little closer so you can see some of the detail in the shimmer trim and the stars and how thin they are, but they are layered up quite a bit. Like I said, that's at least 5 layers of those die cut stars. And I really just like how this turned out because I think all of the bright colors really make that photo pop out, and your eye just really goes towards the photo, and it's a great focal point for this particular layout and sketch. So I hope that you like that. If you did like it, please make sure that you do hit the like button, and if you haven't already, let me invite you to subscribe to my channel as well. I really appreciate that. And if you have questions, please let me know in the comments or any other comments that you'd like to share. I appreciate seeing those. Until next time, thank you for watching, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye.